Hello and welcome back to the channel one and all. As promised, today's video is all going to be about those of you who are thinking about starting tabletop war games with miniatures, but whether you want to just dip your toe in or you want to start and are unsure where to. I'm going to try and go through the quickest, easiest and cheapest way to get started as possible. So the first thing you're going to need, obviously, is some miniatures. Now, there are many companies out there, from the very biggest to the medium size to small. So if you want to buy whatever you want to buy, let's start with, for example, some Warhammer. Now, these are Tactical Space Marines, because they're probably the most well known. There are also Frostgrave Minis from North Star Military, Star Wars Legion, and if you want to go more down the historic route, there are various companies that do historic miniatures as well. Victrix Vikings here, as you can see. Now, most companies have how to build the miniatures sheets in them. So as you can see, for example, on here, the parts are labelled to make it easier for you to build your miniatures. Star Wars Legion, again, have sheets in them. Showing you how to build them quickly and easily. All the miniatures on the sprues are labelled, so you really can't go wrong. I know it's daunting if you've never done this sort of thing before, but the miniatures themselves come on sprues and each part is numbered, so you really can't go wrong. The same with the Frostgrave. Now, Frostgrave miniatures from North Star come in very few parts, and so the only assembly guide you have on these is this on the back of the box. However, the arms have the numbers stamped actually in the plastic. And the beauty about Frostgrave miniatures is they're all interchangeable, so you don't have to stick with the parts that are in any individual box. You can mix and match them. Again, it's the only way you get to tell how to build them, but they are very easy to build. One piece body, head, couple of arms, and a few little bits to glue on the sides, pouches, etc. Very easy. And the Warhammer actually have probably the best instructions of how to build them, because Warhammer miniatures do come with a hell of a lot of options, but they do come with very good how to build rules, as we can see here. Multi-part option kits. Every single piece on the sprue is numbered or numbered and lettered for all the different options. So again, you really can't go wrong. They're very, very good build instructions for the Games Workshop miniatures, because they come with a ton of bits, and you'll never use them all. You'll always have plenty of spares to left over to put in your bits box. Always have a bits box, so whenever you finish building your miniatures, all the spare bits, make sure you take off the sprues and save them. for later projects, conversions, etc. Very good instructions from Games Workshop. Can't fault them for that. So, you're asking yourself, how do I go from a sprue of plastic bits and pieces to a fully completed miniature? I'm going to show you in the quickest, easiest way possible. The first thing you're going to need to do is get your pieces off the sprue. So you need really only 2 tools. A pair of side clippers for clipping the pieces off the sprue, like so. Make sure you get in nice and tight. And it's as simple as that. There's the chest piece. Come off the sprue very easily. The only other tool you really need for getting the miniatures off the sprue is a scalpel knife. Now this is for actually scraping off mould lines. Don't go spending a fortune on expensive mould line scrapers, because all you need to do is use the back of the blade on the miniature to take off the mould lines, or the front of the blade to take off where the sprue attached to the miniature part. You don't need expensive things. Don't go spending a fortune on mould line scrapers you don't really need. So the only 2 tools you really need, as I say, is your clippers and your scalpel knife. Now I got these in a set off Amazon, which came with a sander, a pair of pliers, and spare blades for your knife. Now this set cost me less than £10. Lots of miniature companies try and sell you, for example, I know there's a set of side clippers from a certain large miniature company, which shall remain nameless, going for £25, £35, along the lines of what, 30 to 40 US dollars. You don't need to spend that much money. This set, less than £7, maybe $10 in the US. Amazon is your friend here. Just go onto Amazon and type in modelling toolkits, and it will take you to kits such as these, where you get 3 or 4 pieces for less than $10, $15, £7 to £10. They do bigger ones with pin vices and things in. If you're willing to spend that much money, then by all means do, but don't go spending $30, $40, £25, £30 on a set of side cutters. You don't need to spend that amount of money. It's certainly not worth it. So once you've got all your pieces off your sprue, plastic sprue, you're going to need glue. I like to use liquid poly with a brush on the lid. Childproof top, which I can't get in, even though I'm a middle-aged guy. So there you go, liquid poly, brushes on the lid. Then apply your glue to the parts you want gluing and put them together. Nothing very difficult at all. Now if you use resin or metal models, which you can get from some companies still these days, in fact resin models are coming into style again with the advent of 3D printing. However, most 3D printed models come in one piece, so you really won't need to do it. But you will occasionally come across metal and resin models. For that, you're going to need super glue of some description. I use this particular brand. Other cyanoacrylates are available on the market, but I tend to use the gel stuff because it doesn't run everywhere. A lot of people don't like using gel because it does take a little bit longer to set, but I prefer the gel because I usually end up sticking my fingers to everything and it makes a complete mess, and as you can imagine, not very good. So, resin, metal, super glue, hard plastic, liquid poly. Some companies as well, Reaper Minis, do their miniatures in a soft bendy plastic. Again, I would recommend using the super glue for those. The liquid poly tends not to stick them so well. So the softer bendy plastic you can get from other companies, again, recommend the super glue rather than the liquid poly for hard plastics. Painting. Right, this is the other bit that will cost you money. If you want quality paints, I'm afraid you're going to have to spend the money. This, along with your miniatures, is probably going to be your biggest initial expense. Now, you're going to need to prime your models. There are 3 ways to prime. You can buy brush-on primers, rattle can or spray can primers, or airbrush primers. Now, I don't own an airbrush, so I can't tell you whether or not these are any good. According to Uncle Atom on Tabletop Minions, he swears by them, and I'm inclined to trust him because he's one of the other channels I do watch a lot, and he knows what he's talking about. He's been in the hobby as long as I have, which is, as I'm sure he would agree, probably too long. What I tend to use is spray primers, rattle cans. I would advise using the Army Painter ones. They come in various colours. Black and white, obviously, are your 2 traditional, but they also come in a range of bone, brown, grey, green, yellow, red. So if you're painting, for example, Blood Angels, buy yourself a red Army Painter colour spray, and it'll save you a bit of time as well, because you're predominantly going to be painting red Blood Angels, so use a red colour primer. Again, this was just an example, so I used the yellow on the yellow Tactical Space Marine there. Paint. Please don't buy cheap hobby paints. Craft paints, I believe they're called in the US. By all means, buy those for scenery, which I will do another video on scenery at a later date. But you're going to have to spend a little bit of money on quality acrylic paints. Starter sets. A lot of companies come out with their own starter sets. Various types. For example, I've got the Vallejo Model Air metallics here. This is just a set of metallic paints designed for airbrush, but I use them for brushing on because they're very good quality metallics. Games Workshop do a lot of starter sets for different styles of model, but my recommendation again would be grab yourself the Army Painter Fanatic starter set. It comes with, I believe, 11 paints and a wash, a brush and a miniature, and a guide in the box to help you get started. The only thing it doesn't come with is a skin tone, I've noticed on their website. But you can pick up a bottle of skin tone from Army Painter for less than £4, $5 US. The starter set that I've seen from Army Painter £28, £29, that sort of area. Again, $35. But that, along with your miniatures, is going to be your biggest expense. Brushes. Again, brushes, don't buy expensive, ridiculously expensive brushes. As long as you can get your set of reasonably priced brushes that come to a point and keep that point, then buy those. Don't go spending $30, $40, $20, £30 on a single brush. It's not worth it. Again, your hobbycraft stores have perfectly reasonable brushes for a lot less money. I believe Uncle Atom said as well that Sam Lenz uses cheap hobby brushes all the time, and he's a Crystal Brush Golden Demon guy, and he just uses cheap brushes. So there's no need to go out and spend, as long as you get them to come to a point. I myself use here in the UK a company called Rosemary & Co. They're not cheap brushes, but they're not mega expensive. They are of a quality design. Again, but I'm not breaking the bank buying them. They're quite reasonably priced, and they hold the points quite well. And always wash your brushes out after using them. Quick tip there. Excellent brushes for the price, Rosemary & Co. You want to buy yourself a set of cheap makeup brushes as well. Again, Amazon is your friend here. You can get a set of 20, 30 makeup brushes for about £10 here in the UK. Now these are for dry brushing. Again, I'll do a separate video on how to paint things in the near future. But these are the soft bristled big brushes for a technique known as dry brushing. I'm sure you've seen other channels explain dry brushing, but again, I'll be doing a video on that shortly as well. Dry brushing, cheap ones, Amazon. Basing materials, as you can see on this fella here, he's based after he's been painted. Again, you can buy yourself bags of flock or sand if you want to go the simple route. What I tend to use with these is electrostatic grass sometimes, as you can see on there. Grass tufts. There are companies that specialise in this sort of thing. I use Geek Gaming Scenics. They're excellent pre-made basing materials, pre-mixed with all different types. Mediterranean sand, forest floor, hillside, scrublands. Again, very reasonably priced, pre-mixed, ready to go onto your base. Now this is where your third glue comes in. PVA glue. PVA bond. Litre of this here cost me, I think it was £7 on Amazon, and that will last you a good long time. Just again, I'll be doing a video of basing as well in the near future. Just a thin mix of this with water and a brush applied over your base, dipped in your basing material, shaken off, and boom, basing more or less done. Again, you don't need to go out and spend a fortune. Reasonably priced basing materials from Geek Gaming, and as I say, a cheap bottle of PVA bond, £7 for 500 millilitres, and that'll last you at least a year if you're painting a reasonable amount of miniatures. One final thing to note, miniature holders. Again, companies are charging you £15, £20, £25 for miniature holders, which is what, $17, $20, $30 for one, when all you need is an old wine cork with a bit of poster putty or blue tack on the top. There you go, miniature holder, doesn't cost you anything. Steady for holding as you're painting like this, doesn't cost you anything. Don't go out spending fortunes on miniature holders, it's just not worth it, guys. Keep it cheap, nice and simple. I hope that's been of value to somebody, or those of you hoping to start painting. Oh, one thing I did forget. Water. Oh, good Lord, look at the state of that. That needs changing. That's my water pot for washing your brushes out with. And get yourself some palettes. Again, don't go spending a fortune if you're just starting on wet palettes. I will be doing a video on wet palettes as well. They are good, but once you get used to the idea of painting and you've got yourself a bit more experience, by all means, either go and buy a wet palette or make your own. Again, I will be doing a video on that in the near future. But these cost me, I think, again, less than £10 from my local supermarket, and I believe I got 12 of these for £10. And again, this is still the first one. Using the palette, wash it out after it's full. Again, I bought these maybe 2 years ago and I'm still on my first one. It's just not worth spending a fortune on palettes, guys, particularly when you're first starting out. Just not worth the money, because you might not find out you might not like painting miniatures in the end. As I say, I hope that's helped people out. I hope it's whetted your appetite for at least dipping your toe in having a go at painting, putting together a few miniatures, having a go at painting, keeping it cheap, nice and simple. The next video will be on games, cheap games to buy for your miniatures, which will be predominantly focusing on skirmish games rather than large army games. Because again, rather than large army games, it means buying a lot more miniatures, painting a lot more. It's going to cost you a lot more and take you more time to get an army painted. Skirmish games, 10 to 15 models, a lot cheaper, a lot quicker, a lot easier to get your miniatures on the table and start rolling a few dice and having fun. So again, guys, thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next video. Take care, guys. See you later.